Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. The morning sun spilled over the quiet town of Maplewood, casting long shadows against the cracked sidewalks and modest homes that lined the streets. It was a picturesque, sleepy community where nothing ever seemed out of place. On any given day, neighbors would wave to each other as they tended to their gardens. Children would play hopscotch on the pavement, and the hum of cicadas filled the air. But beneath the veneer of tranquility, darkness lurked. Something sinister was about to shatter the calm. August. The tranquility was first pierced by the sound of sirens echoing through the neighborhood. Emergency vehicles converged on Willow Lane, where the local school teacher, Linda Palmer, had failed to show up for her fourth grade class. Linda, in her late 30s, was beloved by her students and known for her dedication. Yet on this particular Tuesday, an alarming absence raised concern among faculty and parents alike. Within hours, the police were dispatched to her home, a modest two-story house adorned with bright flowers and a white picket fence as symbols of a life seemingly well-lived. Upon arrival, the officers discovered an unsettling scene. The door was ajar, and a half-finished cup of coffee lay on the kitchen counter, steam long gone. As they moved cautiously through the house, an air of dread settled like a heavy fog. The walls that had once echoed laughter now reverberated with an eerie silence, hinting at a tragic story yet to be unfolded. Detectives began their work on a case that would soon reveal secrets hidden beneath the surface of Maplewood's facade. The investigation would expose the dark interplay between love and betrayal, friendships tinged with envy, and ultimately, the haunting question that would linger above the town. What happened to Linda Palmer? As the sun dipped below the horizon that fateful day, hints of what lay ahead gathered on the wind, brushing against the inhabitants of Maplewood, who had no idea that innocence was about to be forever altered. The victim. Linda Palmer was more than just a teacher. She was a pillar of the community. In a town like Maplewood, where half-expressed intentions and kind gestures knitted the fabric of everyday life, Linda's warmth illuminated every room she entered. She had grown up here, earning the respect of parents, colleagues, and students alike. The local cafe, a favorite morning haunt, overflowed with anecdotes of her engaging storytelling during school assemblies and her ability to inspire even the most reluctant learner. However, the image of a flawless life often masked the complexities that lay beneath. Close friends knew Linda struggled with the weight of expectations, both self-imposed and external. Her meticulous nature drove her to be the best, but it sometimes isolated her, amplifying the pressure when things didn't go as planned. Each evening, after leaving the school building empty of students, Linda returned to an unadorned home where silence lingered like a specter, leaving her to grapple with her thoughts. With no sign of struggle in her home, detectives began to piece together Linda's life outside the classroom. They uncovered a network of friends and acquaintances, each providing a different window into her world. Carla, her best friend since childhood, painted a picture of a vibrant woman who had a passion for life, but also carried her share of burdens. "She was always the one we looked up to," Carla said, her voice trembling slightly. But all of us, she had her demons. Then there was Mark, the charming local handyman, whose flirtation had turned to something more over the past few months. While Linda was so often the caregiver for everyone else, it wasn't lost on detectives that even those who seem unshakable can harbor feelings of loneliness and longing. What began as a blossoming romance had instead become a tangle of expectations and unrealized dreams. As the investigation unfolded, clues began to emerge about Linda's relationships, hinting at jealousy and rivalry, alongside threads of love and affection. With each discovered detail, Maplewood's pristine image crumbled further, revealing the hidden complexities within its tightly knit community. Linda Palmer was a victim not only of circumstance, but of the deeply intertwined lives that surrounded her, each connection concealing truths waiting to be unearthed. The crime scene. The following day, detectives continued their meticulous examination of Linda Palmer's home, the epicenter of the investigation now marked by the crime scene tape fluttering like a solemn flag in the breeze. Inside, the interior offered an intimate, unsettling glimpse into her life. Each item in the modest living room seemed to hold a story, yet nothing could reveal what had happened to its resident. Photographs adorned the walls. Linda smiling beside students at school events, friends gathered at holiday parties, a cherished picture of her with her elderly parents, their faces radiating love and pride. But amid the warmth, a sense of foreboding loomed thick in the air. The hoarding of these memories contrasted sharply with the chilling absence that now defined the space. Detective Sarah Lawson leaned against the kitchen island, her eyes drawn toward the still warm mug sitting abandoned on the marble countertop. "You don't just leave coffee," she mused, her voice low. It was the little details that weighed heavily in a case like this, the signs of an interruption, the sudden ousting of routine. Forensics swept the house with precision. Linda's laptop was carefully examined, yielding clues in the form of a recent email exchange with a worried colleague regarding her mental health. The message hinted at Linda's struggle, revealing that the pressures of teaching had begun to take their toll. "I feel like I'm drowning," it read. This small snippet offered insight into the tensions that lay beneath her composed exterior. As investigators combed through the contents of her bedroom, a newfound tension filled the air. The disarray of her belongings painted a picture of a hasty departure. Clothes lay strewn across the floor, a half-packed suitcase in the corner suggesting a need to escape, whether physically or emotionally, remained unclear. Oddly enough, everything appeared untouched, except for a few scattered items. A note hastily scribbled and a single shoe left behind. Outside, neighbors began to gather, their curiosity igniting a frenzy of speculation. Whispers about Linda's state of mind danced through the crowd like smoke, drifting into conversations regarding the often idealized lives visible to the world. In all the chatter, however, there was an underlying dread. Nobody could fathom the depths to which such a cherished member of their community could descend. Detective Lawson could feel the weight of the town's collective anxieties. The desire for answers bore down on her shoulders like an anchor. This was not just an investigation. It was a profound unraveling of the fabric that held Maplewood together, revealing that beneath every friendly wave, darker currents ran deep. With each new discovery at the crime scene, the question continued to reverberate. What truly happened to Linda Palmer? The early investigation. As the sun rose higher on the horizon, casting a pale light over Maplewood, Detectives began to formalize their approach to the investigation. Detective Sarah Lawson and her partner, Detective Mark Reyes, convened at the police station to debrief after their intense day at the crime scene. A growing urgency loomed. It was crucial to piece together Linda's final days before crucial evidence slipped through their fingers like grains of sand. Their first call was to Linda's workplace, Maplewood Elementary School. The principal, Mr. Thompson, welcomed them in his office, worry etched across his forehead. "She seemed fine last week," he insisted, hands clasped, guilt bleeding from his voice. But there was a noticeable change in her lately, a sort of heaviness. The principal described missed deadlines and Linda's uncharacteristic fatigue, leading to an unsettling realization that had troubled them all. Detectives turned their attention to her colleagues, interviewing them about Linda's relationships. An unsettling tension built as they spoke with Carla, who had always been in the loop but had recently sensed a growing divide between them. She was worried about not being enough, Carla confessed, her voice quivering. "But I thought it was just work stress, that stress we all go through." Next was Mark, the handyman, whose flirtation with Linda had sparked intrigue and gossip. When questioned, he projected an air of concern, illuminating a complicated dynamic. "We were just getting to know each other," he stated. But there was a shadow behind his words, hints of possessiveness and jealousy lurking. "I thought we had something special." With each interview, a clearer image began to form, revealing an underlying tension within Linda's life. She had aspirations beyond the classroom, dreams that struggled to take flight beneath the weight of expectations, both self-imposed and societal. The detectives noted the duplicity in the feedback, a seemingly close-knit community grappling with loneliness and the unspoken fear of being ostracized. Later, Lawson and Reyes returned to the crime scene, their minds racing with question. How could someone beloved by so many fall victim to such darkness? And who among them was hiding truths veiled in the routines of their daily lives? The urgency of the investigation deepened, driving them to sift through every nuance of Linda's existence, with leads guiding them deeper into the web of her friendships. Detectives were beginning to fear that the answers to Linda's disappearance would not be found in the warm, inviting corners of their towns. Said the truth lay within shadows, far from the innocence that everyone desperately clung to. The desire for resolution began to seep into every conversation and every look exchanged, asking, what price would they pay to reveal what happened to Linda Palmer? The dead ends. Days turned into a blur of interviews and investigations as Lawson and Reyes pressed on, attempting to sift through the chaos that surrounded Linda Palmer's disappearance. Yet, with each name they chased down and every lead they followed, the mystery only deepened, causing their initial optimism to fray. They sought out neighbors, acquaintances, even the barista at the local cafe who served Linda her daily cup of coffee. But every conversation led to dead ends. She was always friendly, the barista said, wiping down the counter, but nothing ever seemed out of the ordinary. The same phrase echoed in their ears, nothing out of the ordinary, a haunting mantra that mocked their pursuit of the truth. The detectives explored the possibility of Linda having traveled somewhere, possibly needing a break. Yet as they painstakingly combed through her financial records, the two detectives were met with only more questions. Linda had not withdrawn significant cash in weeks, and the scant credit card activity indicated she hadn't booked any flights or made hotel reservations. She seemed to have vanished from the world without a trace, leaving behind only frustration and uncertainty. As they explored potential social media connections, they found a digital tapestry that revealed Linda's interests, hobbies, and aspirations, littered with photographs that painted her as vibrant and engaged. But these fantasies of a perfect life only amplified the stark reality of her absence. In one desperate attempt for clarity, they pulled her internet search history, looking for clues that might illuminate her state of mind. Among mundane research about teaching techniques and lesson plans were searches for hotlines, resources for depression, and even queries about support groups. Sifting through this plethora of information, the detectives faced a painful irony. Instead of illuminating Linda's struggles, these details only served to highlight the facets of her life that were hidden from everyone around her. Who was she, really? And why had she felt so alone, even in her closest connection? Frustration mounted as leads began to grow cold. Every door they knocked on seemed to shut in their face, and with each failure, the weight of expectation, both professional and personal, broadened. The town's innocence crumbled further beneath the impact of Linda's absence, leading to whispered conversations among neighbors about potential suspects and secret lives. As twilight settled over Maplewood, Detective Lawson stood with her partner in the dim glow of the office, the glow of computers and paperwork illuminating weariness etched into their fatigued features. The truth continued to slip through their finger-severing hypothesis. They constructed met a wall, leaving them ensnared in the web of doubt and despair. With new leads dwindling and hope fading, they reckoned with a frightening reality. They were no closer to finding Linda Palm. A break in the case. The unsettling weight of uncertainty lay heavy on the detectives as the investigation continued to stagnate. It was on a nearly forgotten Thursday, while Lawson was sifting through mundane emails at the station, that an unexpected jolt of energy pulsed through the department. An anonymous tip poured in, rattling the tightly wound web of frustration. "Detective, I think you need to hear this," Officer Ramirez said, breaking through Lawson's reverie. The rasp of urgency in his voice was enough to draw her immediate attention. Castro Park, a once popular gathering place now streaked with disuse, had become a pressing matter among local teens. They often reported sightings of a man lurking in the shadows near the park's edges, especially in the evening hours. Closer investigation revealed that the last known sighting of Linda Palmer was just a few blocks from there. Fueled by sudden hope, Lawson and Reyes quickly assembled a team and headed to the park, canvassing the area for any signs of activity. The sun dipped low, transforming the sky into a palette of oranges and purples, casting long shadows that danced along the cracked pathways. With the evening phone calls and buzzing investigations still fresh in their minds, the detectives felt revived with purpose. As they interrogated passers-by, a group of teenagers gathered nearby, eyes lit with youthful curiosity. It was from them that they learned about a man they called the Shadow. The teens described encounters that pushed them to avoid the park at night, noting the man's disheveled appearance and erratic behavior. He kept talking about a woman who was taken. One girl explained, shivering slightly at the thought. Said she was trapped out there, somewhere. The detectives exchanged glances fraught with intensity. This could be what they had been waiting for. The idea that someone, anyone, had seen something sparked hope in their tired soul. Fueled by adrenaline, they asked for more details. But just as quickly, the teens' laughter faded, and they retreated with the swirling dusk, leaving the detectives with unanswered questions lingering in the air. Determined to follow this lead, Reyes contacted a local informant known for his ties to the park's loiterers. The informant, known as Dino, was hesitant initially, but agreed to share what he had seen. When they finally cornered him, it was in the dim light of the all-night diner. "There's a lot of shady stuff happening at those old shacks by the trees," Dino whispered, glancing around nervously. "I saw some guy dump a bag there a while back. It felt like he was trying to hide something." Excitement surged through the detectives as they took this new information in. It was a small, frail thread, but it was enough to weave into the intricate fabric of the case. With renewed hope, Lawson and Reyes organized a team to sweep the shacks that night. For the first time in weeks, anticipation edged into their conversations, flickering like a candle flame against the darkness of doubt. As they prepared to pursue this lead, the gravity of their task settled over them, excitement mixed with dread. What if they uncovered something that would change the narrative of Linda Palmer's life forever? What awaited them behind the shadows of that park? With the thrill of a breakthrough at their backs, they felt the primal urgency that defines every investigation. The need to confront what could lie ahead, no matter how harrowing. The suspect. As night draped its heavy cloak over Maplewood, Detective Lawson and Reyes, flanked by a team of officers, approached the shacks tucked away in the dense underbrush lining Castro Park. The air was thick with tension. Each step toward the dilapidated structures weighed down by doubts and unvoiced fears. Flashlights pierced the darkness, illuminating the crumbling walls, remnants of a forgotten place where secrets might. At the front of the lead shack, the group paused, exchanging glances filled with anticipation. Reyes nodded, a silent signal to move. The creaking door swung open easily, revealing a dusty interior untouched by time or caution. The scent of mildew permeated the air, mingling with an unsettling sense of foreboding. The team searched methodically, their flashlights cutting through the darkness with focused intent. It was in the far corner, beneath a pile of debris, that they found it, a bag, heavy and unyielding. Detective Lawson felt a chill race up her spine as they pulled it free from the clutter. She opened it with cautious deliberation, revealing clothing a familiar blouse, unmistakably Linda's, alongside a stack of crumpled notes and a tattered book filled with her handwritten lessons. A sinking realization settled over the team, and Reyes's voice broke the silence. "We need to establish a perimeter. This could be the break we've been waiting for." The air changed around them, the shadows of despair filled with dread as they recognized the implications. This wasn't just a clue. It was mounting evidence of something far more sinister. As the search continued outside, Lawson's mind raced against the grim findings. There had to be a connection to the man the teens had referred to as. Could he be the key to unraveling the mystery? As if summoned by her thoughts, Reyes approached with information that would shift the entire investigation into an unsettling direction. "I found something," he said, gesturing toward the supervising officer. They led the way to a man huddled by the edge of the park, his body marked by the telltale signs of a life spent in the streets. Disheveled and pale, he appeared to be in his late 40s, grizzled hair framing sunken eyes. Officers had brought him in for questioning based on the description, believing he fit the profile of the shadow. The detectives approached the man, maintaining an air of calm. "We'd like to ask you some questions," Lawson said, without veering from her professional demeanor. "You've been seen around the area. Did you notice anything unusual in the past few weeks?" His eyes darted as if grappling with memory and confusion. "There's strange stuff out here, man," he replied, voice low and gravelly. "People come and go. Some don't leave at all." "Some don't leave at all?" The chilling undertone sent a shiver spiraling down Lawson's spine. "Do you know Linda Palmer?" Reyes pressed, leaning in closer. The name seemed to hang in the air, thick with tension. The man blinked, recognition igniting a flicker of something, fear, perhaps. "She was here. I saw her. What happened?" Lawson pressed, heart racing. The moment hung suspended between Thema, a crucial pivot point in the investigation. He murmured, eyes down. Well, it wouldn't let. Lawson and Reyes shared a look, an unspoken acknowledgement of the weight resting on their shoulders. This man could hold the key to unlocking the layers of mystery surrounding Linda Palmer's fate. Yet there was an unmistakable air of trepidation as Lawson considered their precarious position. They might be teetering on the edge of a revelation that could lead them deeper into a darkness they had yet to comprehend. "Who are they?" Reyes asked, voice steady. The man's lips trembled under the pressure a moment where truth hung tantalizingly close to the surface. The striking gravity of the words that might soon escape his lips felt like a suffocating shroud, tightening around them both. The question loomed. Could they navigate the shadowy unknown and reveal the truth about Linda, once and for all? The trial. Months had passed since that chilling night in Castro Park, the search for Linda Palmer morphing into a tense quest for justice. The sun cast long shadows over the Maplewood courthouse as the day of the trial finally dawned. A necessary culmination of the emotions that had lingered, tenuously balanced between hope and despair. The courtroom buzzed with the kind of anticipation that often accompanied the unveiling of hidden truths. But today, there was a palpable sense of grief that wrapped around the proceedings like a shroud. Detective Sarah Lawson sat in the front row, her heart heavy as she prepared to bear witness against the man who had now been revealed as the shadow. Carl Jennings, a man entwined in the streets, stood accused of kidnapping and ultimately the murder of Linda Palmer. He was a gaunt figure cloaked in a faded jumpsuit, a stark contrast to the bright light of the courtroom. His downturned gaze mirrored the shame and disregard of a life lived on the fringes. Yet the depth of his eyes hinted at a more layered story. The prosecutor, with careful but fierce determination, laid out the case, presenting a timeline that integrated testimonies from friends, acquaintances, and officers who had witnessed the tumult of Jennings' erratic behavior, especially in the end led up to Linda's disappearance. Each piece of evidence built upon the last, a series of meticulously laid bricks in a wall, meant to hold him accountable for the damage wrought upon so many lives. As witnesses took the stand, the emotional tempest swirled. Carla struggled, her voice shaking as she recalled the last days of her friend's life, the growing darkness that had enveloped Linda. Mark, too, spoke of his regret, reflecting on their brief romance with a sense of sorrow. Lawson sensed the weight of their experiences summoning the jury's empathy, a force that could tip the scales of justice. Then came the moment when Jennings himself took the stand, his demeanor bordering on defiant yet vulnerable. The prosecutor's questions were sharp, causing Jennings to falter with each inquiry about his whereabouts on the critical nights of Linda's disappearance. His responses were riddled with contradictions and errant slip of the tongue here. An uncomfortable pause there. An audible whisper of disbelief rippled through the courtroom when he claimed, "I didn't mean to harm her. I only wanted to talk." His voice quivered, revealing the cracks in his story. Lawson felt an anger swell within her as she watched him distort the narrative, morphing himself into a tragic figure while denying Linda's very existence, a woman whose life was stitched together by countless meaningful moments. Then a passing remark. Was there any humanity left in him? As the trial proceeded, one piece of crucial evidence weighed heavily: findings from the bag discovered in the park. An unmistakable link to Linda, grounded in reality and heart-wrenching truth. The courtroom fell silent as the prosecutor expertly detailed the items, intertwining them into a narrative that left no room for doubt about Jennings' culpability. Finally, after a long, tense deliberation, the jury returned. Anticipation crackled through the room as the foreman's gaze scanned the crowd before settling on the judge. We find the defendant, Carl Jennings, guilty of kidnapping and murder. The words echoed in the chambers, each syllable resonating within the souls of everyone present. An audible gasp filled the air, accompanied by relieved sighs and muffled sobs from those seated. Linda's family present in the courtroom were overcome with a mixture of sorrow and a newfound sense of closure. For them, the verdict signified victory in a battle waged against an unseen enemy, of victory that recognized Linda's existence and her worth. As the gavel came crashing down, sealing Jennings' fate, Lawson felt a bittersweet ache settle within. Justice had been served, but the gaping void left by Linda's absence remained. Maplewood was forever marked by the shadows cast in the wake of her disappearance. Yet today there existed a glimmer of hope, a moment in time where grief transformed into resolve. Perhaps her story would serve as a reminder that every life, its struggles and triumphs, deserves to be acknowledged, forever weaving her spirit into the fabric of their town. The light would shine on. The aftermath. As the gavel fell and the echo of the verdict faded, the reality of Linda Palmer's absence weighed heavily on the hearts of Maplewood. Although Carl Jennings had been sentenced and justice had, at least in the eyes of the law, been served, the small town still grappled with the haunting legacy of her disappearance. The air was thick with grief, a bitter reminder of the fragility of life that permeated the once untroubled community. Detective Sarah Lawson found herself standing at the edge of Castro Park more often than she had anticipated. It was a bittersweet sanctuary now marked with memory where laughter once echoed freely. Shadows of sorrow had taken root. She remembered the chaotic rush of her instincts when they'd first pursued the trail to Jennings, the tingle of fear mixed with determination that had propelled her through the darkest chapters of the investigation. Now it nestled under her skin like a persistent ache. Surrounding her were remnants of the investigation. The park was littered with flowers and candles as locals gathered to remember Linda. Each tribute told a story. Each bouquet of daisies was woven with memories of laughter, kindness, and a life cut tragically short. Lawson often mingled among the mourners, absorbing the stories presented by those who loved her, each one chipping away at the facade created by hurt and loss. As days turned into weeks, the community wrestled with their fear that they hadn't truly known their neighbors. That the tranquility they cherished was built on fragile foundation. Each friendly wave now carried a new weight, burdened with questions of trust and the clarity of perception. Maplewood was a town steeped in love, but marked by sorrow. A duality perhaps that would forever shape its narrative. Carla, Linda's childhood friend, dedicated herself to honoring Linda's legacy, initiating programs at the school to ensure mental health would be addressed with the importance it deserved. "If it helps just one person," she often declared, her voice steady despite a trembling chin, "then it's worth it." Through workshops and conversations, she hoped to foster a sense of openness within the community, a departure from the silence that had so long surrounded the topic of inner struggle. Meanwhile, Lawson found solace in the rapport she had built with the townspeople. She spearheaded community meetings, facilitating discussions about safety and awareness-seeking ways for Maplewood to emerge from under the weight of fear. The shadows might remain, but light could still break through in its determined resilience. "We're stronger together," Lawson would remind her fellow residents. "And together we can ensure this never happens again." Through the haze of loss, there emerged a flickering hope. Town meetings swelled with unity, voices overlapping in passionate discourse, while mural artists adorned public spaces with tributes to Linda's spirit. Illuminated under the glow of streetlights were messages of love, reminders of the vibrant life she had led, a gentle whisper urging those she left behind to find strength and meaning amid the turmoil. As Lawson stood in front of the mural one evening, she marveled at the beautiful depiction of Linda, smiling, radiant, surrounded by swirling petals of color. It captured both her essence and the essence of Maplewood, a community forever altered yet striving for coherence. In those fleeting moments of connection, there existed the transformative power of grief to pressure them toward growth, igniting a collective resolve to foster understanding and change. In time, the shadows would release their grip, and though Linda Palmer would never return, her legacy would endure as a catalyst for healing. Maplewood may have lost one of its own, but it had forged connections, fostered conversations, and awoken a deeper awareness within the hearts of its inhabitants. The pain would find a home alongside hope and love, a reminder that from the darkest nights can emerge the brightest dawns, illuminating paths for those who come after. Reflection. As the days transitioned into months, Maplewood began to reclaim its rhythm, yet the echoes of loss lingered like a haunting melody woven into the community's fabric. Detective Sarah Lawson frequently found herself contemplating the thematic threads that had unfurled throughout Linda Palmer's tragic story. It was a gut-wrenching tale of untold struggles and softer nuances overshadowed by horror. Divested of the sharp edges of fear and loss, Lawson sought the lights that twinkled through the darkness, illuminating the resolve that ripened in the wake of tragedy. In her quiet moments of reflection, she remembered Linda's laughter, the joy that surged through the community when she had danced in the summer sun with her students. The sharp contrast of that imagery against the darker memories weighed heavily on her heart. How could they reconcile the joy she brought with the grief that now consumed them? But as Linda's legacy blossomed into a movement, conversations about mental health and community awareness, Lawson realized that nothing could be futile if it inspired change. People were talking now, shifting the culture, lifting the veil of silence she believed had condemned Linda. to loneliness. Perhaps the act of remembrance had the power to transform the very essence of Maplewood. The bittersweet threads woven through loss had ultimately birthed resilience. Each workshop initiated by Linda's loved ones, every mural embraced by the town, bravely illuminated the multifaceted nature of existence. In confronting their own darkest corners, the citizens of Maplewood began to embrace the light to emerge together into an enlightened state of unity driven by love, compassion, and hope. As Lawson gazed into the mirror one early morning, she felt an unfamiliar resolve within her, a quiet determination. The investigation was over, but the work continued. Linda Palmer's life was not just a reminder of loss. It was a beacon guiding them toward healing, urging the importance of recognition, care, and community. Maplewood would never be just a backdrop for a tragedy. It was a place learning to navigate profound pain and ultimately empower its inhabitants to not only survive, but profoundly thrive amid uncertainty. In this reflection, hope blossomed anew, rooted not in the absence of darkness, but in the collective will to embrace the light.